Watching the world burn, watching the world burn. November 12th, 2025. Let's get into it. Yes, indeed. That is the flag that is now flying above Pokrovsk in Ukraine, a major logistics hub that Trump just lost to the Russians. Looks like Trump's proxy war against Russia is not doing too well. And you would think with Trump losing an entire war, that would be the #1 story in the news. That everybody everywhere would be going, man, Trump has lost the war with Russia. After spending billions upon billions upon billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars and sending just hordes and hordes of U.S. military equipment, providing satellite support and HIMARS, long-range weapons, TACMs, everything else, basically having 26 CIA offices open in Ukraine, U.S. generals guiding the Ukrainians, at least in the first part of the war, everything. Our entire federal government has been focused on defeating Russia, and yet Trump lost the war. You'd think that would be the biggest story in the news. Nope. It's the government shutdown, I believe, has been ended. The Democrats, if you want to say caved, I wouldn't say they caved. They kept the government shut down longer than any Republican shutdown. So, but the question that nobody's asking that baffles me, okay, they say, well, 42 million Americans are going to be starving to death if they don't get their SNAP benefits. Well, the question is, why on earth do we have 42 million Americans that need food stamps? I mean, doesn't that kind of point to something being just a little bit wrong in the American economy? Or something's wrong that the government has to give them those benefits? And then they were talking about the medical costs and how that's gone up with the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare or whatever you want to call it. People tend to forget the deciding vote for Obamacare was John McCain, okay? He was the deciding vote that brought in Obamacare. So the Republicans brought in Obamacare, not the Democrats, if you want to look at John McCain as a Republican. And speaking of John McCain, he was over with Victoria Nuland at the start of the Maidan coup when the war started in Ukraine in 2014. So you could see McCain had his fingers right up the Democrat ass. In fact, I'd say McCain was more of a Democrat than a Republican. But nobody wants to point that out. Never do. A lot of rhinos up there are more like Democrats than Republicans. But, and then the second biggest story that you would think people would be talking about is what's going on in Venezuela. Looks like Trump wants a war down there. I talked about that in my last video. But you know what? Nobody is talking about, what weapons, because this is a question that I was asking myself, and we're going to get into this here in just a minute. What weapons have the Russians given to Venezuela? Like, do they have fighter jets? Do they have Sidewinder missiles, for example, for shooting down planes? Do they have air defense systems? Nobody's asking these questions. And then, of course, Trump, I think the tally now, he's blown up 10 boats of who knows what was on those boats or who was on those boats, killed in, 61 was the last count that I heard. 61 people are dead, in my opinion, for no reason. Those boats couldn't come to the United States. I mean, even if they had drugs on them, most of the drugs come from Colombia, Mexico. The fentanyl comes through Mexico. What's the other nation? I can't remember. Anyway, there's about 3 or 4 Latin American nations that supply most all of the drugs to the United States. And then the question is, why are we worried about the source of the drugs when we should be worried about the demand for the drugs, right? I mean, if there was no demand, there wouldn't be any drugs coming in the United States. Shouldn't we be spending all those billions of dollars that Trump sent to Ukraine to fight the Russians? Wouldn't that have been good money to spend on trying to get people off of drugs and end the demand? Because see, without demand, you don't have to worry about supply. Supply and demand. That's called capitalism. So I don't understand this whole Trump going to war with Venezuela, except the oil. Obviously, we want their oil. And Venezuela, Maduro said, hey, you know, we're willing to work with you and be a partner and get the oil out of the ground and share it to you for a cheap price. Why couldn't we do that? Riddle me that, Batman. These are all things that don't make any sense. And then, of course, because the cargo planes have been landing. Now, people are speculating that Wagner is on the ground. So if Marines did land, which I don't think they will, then 4,000 Marines are not going to do anything in a country the size of Venezuela. Somebody was telling me Venezuela is the size of like 3 or 4 states in the United States combined. And it's got mountainous territory. It'd be worse than Vietnam. Holy shit. Unless you got CIA in there that's going to have the a coup that takes place, much like we did in Ukraine when we installed the pro-Nazi government there. That was before Zelensky. I can't remember what the name of the first president was that we put in power in Ukraine. The thing that blows my mind is how good that worked. I mean, my God, Ukraine. Let's see, when the war started back in 2014, there were 52 million people living in Ukraine. Okay, now in the first parts of the war, most of those people hadn't left, but some started leaving, and then it became a mass exodus. And the last figure that I heard is Ukraine is down to about 19 million people left in the country. That's incredible. That means they've lost 31 million people, and that's not dead on the battlefield. That's just people leaving the country. And most of them say they're not going back. They're in Poland, they're in Belgium, they're all over the damn place. They're not going back to Ukraine, especially when Ukraine becomes a rump state. I still think Russia's going to move down there and take Odessa, and that means that Ukraine will have no more ports to access the ocean. So that'll be interesting to see. But that story's not even in the news. Can you believe it? Trump lost a war to Ukraine, to the Russians, and it's not even a blip on the radar. And blowing up 61 people, not a blip on the radar. Nothing about Venezuela. How about Iran? We're gonna go to war with Iran? Haven't heard much on that for a while. I don't know. And then, of course, Laura Loomer, the Zionist Laura Loomer, but she just got back from Israel and wrote a huge op-ed on X, talked about how Israel needs to divorce themselves from the aid from the United States. And that way they can do what they want to do. Laura, I got news for you. Israel runs the United States government. They do whatever the hell they want to do. Cutting themselves off from U.S. aid. Well, I'd love to see that happen, but that ain't gonna do anything. They own the U.S. Congress. They own Trump, man. Are you kidding me? Israel, they never even paused. Trump went over there and said, I got a ceasefire. There was no damn ceasefire. Israel does whatever the hell they want to do. Netanyahu, Trump sucks Netanyahu's butt, Laura Loomer. That's the real situation in the federal government. In fact, I put a photo up on X of Trump kissing Netanyahu's butt. Maybe you should go back and read that post. Anyway, let's get into the stand-up part of the video, because I want to go through some of the weapon systems that Venezuela has, and we're going to read that post, and we're going to get through a couple of other posts. I tell you what, it's a beautiful day here in Florida. Oh my God, it's obviously cold. I got my jacket on, but get this, man. We got an Arctic freeze coming down. This is very unusual for this time of the year. It's supposed to go down to 28 degrees. Man, that's insane. And they're saying we're going to get some high winds and everything else. So we'll see what happens here. It's going to be wild. I tell you what, you have good days and you have bad days, and I don't know what the hell happens to my body. I woke up feeling good today. I've hiked further today than I've hiked in a very, very long time, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. I think it's probably going to get dark before I get back. But, and I got the video studio. There's only one thing outstanding. Let's talk about that for just 1 minute. So I noticed I have on the old server, which was the new server, I have 2 display ports that I need to be able to use, but the monitors that I have only have HDMI ports, okay? So I said, well, you know, I wonder if there is a display port to HDMI adapter so that I could use my HDMI cables to connect that monitor up to a, you know, the display port up to an HDMI port. Well, it turns out there is, but they're very expensive. And so I was looking at, you know, the options, and I got, of course I got with Grok. I always get with Grok on everything. And so Grok recommended this name brand for a cable. It's actually, you can get the adapter or you can get the cable. So the adapter was like 42 bucks or something. And the cable, which is only a 3-foot cable, I wish I could get it longer, but it was expensive as hell. It was like $47. So why on earth would you get an adapter using an old HDMI cable, you know, which brings it down, or get the cable, and it's at the latest standard. It's like, what is it, USB 4.1 or something like that, or DisplayPort 4.1, I can't remember. You know, the standard keeps going up and up. You remember when USB was 2.0, then it's 3.0, then 3.1, then 3.2. You know, you just can't keep up with all of it, you know. But anyway, so the cable that I bought, $47, that'll give me 1 more monitor on the old server. And then, of course, I've got a problem. I shipped some $1,200 worth of memory back to the manufacturer because I bought the M2 drives with the heatsink installed. And last I looked on Amazon, there's no tracking on it. In other words, they're saying it hasn't been mailed. And I took it to the UPS shop. Now, in hindsight, maybe I should have insured it. I didn't really think about it at the time. I've never had a problem shipping something back through UPS, and they printed the label, and I've got the receipt. But I'm thinking I'm going to enter into a battle on getting that $1,200 credited back to my account. So you can see the video studio is not done yet. Oh, quick funny story for you before we get into the reading was, you know, I had an old server, and I was going to take it to the local PC shop and see if they wanted it. Okay, and believe me, it's very difficult around here now with the traffic to get to this PC shop. So, and of course that server was huge. It was heavy as hell. And it was in the back, it's been in the back of my car for about 3 weeks now, maybe a month. And I said, man, it's just time to get rid of this thing. So I get to the PC shop, and of course I'm getting rid of some old S-video cables and, you know, cleaning out my my backup computer supplies and everything. You know, I even let 2 hard drives go with that server, and a bunch of good cables were in there. So, you know, I wanted them to benefit from it, because, you know, if they're going to have to recycle, that's going to be a pain in the butt. Some of it, I think some of it they're going to be able to use. It had a great CD-ROM drive in there, but if I was going to do a CD, I would just buy an external drive at this point. I wouldn't. And then plus the new cases, there's really no place to install that CD drive. So it was kind of stupid not to just give it to them, because they could probably make use of it in the PC shop. But anyway, the funny part of the story was I get there, and the sign on the door says, back in 30 minutes. Oh my God. I was like, oh no, oh hell no. I'm not waiting around 30 minutes, nor am I going to come back, you know, 3 days later through all this traffic that it took me to get here. I bet it took me 45 minutes to travel just a couple miles to get there. I took that server out. I just plopped it right in front of their front door, man. I know that's probably wrong, but I'm thinking they're going to be able to use a lot of those computer parts, so I don't feel guilty about it. But I can't imagine when that guy comes back from wherever he was. It wouldn't have been lunch because it's kind of late in the afternoon. When he gets back and he looks in this huge computer server is sitting at his front door, he's going to be going, what the hell is going on? Somebody just left a computer here? You know, and unfortunately, I probably should give him a call and say, look, you know, that's a gift for you, because he probably thinks that somebody wants him to repair it or something, you know, but I'm hoping he'll figure it out. I'm almost too scared to call him. I'm a coward, man. I'm the dude that left that server at your front door, man. I apologize for that. All right, let's get into the reading. The sun is setting on me, and it's gonna get cold, man. It's gonna get real freaking cold, especially for Florida. All right, so the photo you're looking at right now, this is supposedly the woman that planted like I said, we're talking about the government shutdown and 42 million people getting snapped. And this is another huge story that's getting no coverage whatsoever, but we think we found the woman that planted the pipe bombs on January 6th, which implicates the FBI, and the whole thing was a setup. You'd think this would be the biggest story in the whole world right now, other than Trump losing the war in Ukraine. But let's read it to you. They shot tear gas into a crowd of peaceful protesters on the 6th. They opened the doors to the Capitol and invited Trump supporters inside. They murdered Ashley Babbitt. Before all this, they planted pipe bombs around the Capitol, and the Capitol Police were in on it, and that's the picture you were looking at. So then this is an interesting story, and a lot of people believe this. And so this is an Israeli government official openly accusing Netanyahu for allowing October 7th to happen. See, a lot of people speculate because that was an open-air prison that Hamas came over. And they say that there's no way Hamas could have gotten out of that prison unless Netanyahu allowed it and told everybody to stand down. Because if you know, they were already in Israel on the military bases and everything, and there are actual Israeli officers who've testified that they were told to stand down and not do anything when Hamas was attacking. So let's watch that video.
אני מאשימה אותך, בנימין נתניהו. מאשימה אותך בטבח ה7 באוקטובר. האסון הגדול ביותר שידעה המדינה קרה במשמרתך. גם אם אתה ישן עם מצפון נקי, לא נשכח לך, נזעק את ההפקרה, תקום ועדת חקירה ממלכתית. אני מאשימה אותך, בנימין נתניהו, במימון החמאס, בבניית הטרור ועצימת העיניים האיום הקיומי עלינו, בהפקרת ביטחון המדינה כמדיניות. ביטחון הוא לא אינסטרומנט פוליטי, שמעת? הוא מעל הכל. אני מאשימה אותך, נתניהו, הפכת את הציבור העובד והמשרת לחמורו של משיח. יצרת את ברית ההשתמטות והסיפוח. גבורת הלוחמים נעלמה מעיניך, אבל לא מעינינו. היא האור שאיתו נבנה מחדש. אני מאשימה אותך, נתניהו, השחיתות האישית שלך הפכה למכת מדינה. כל מושחת הופך שותף. ככל שיש לך תיק יותר גדול על מישהו, הוא יותר נוח לך. משפט של איש אחד לקח מדינה שלמה כבת ערובה. אני מאשימה אותך, נתניהו, כי שכחת מה זה להיות יהודי. טראמפ החזיר חטופים במקומך, בזמן שאתה, בלי חשומה, התעסקת בלרתום אותו לחנינה. עשרות חטופים נרצחו ונהרגו בשבי, כשאתה לא קיימת את מצוות פדיון שבויים, חסר מצפון ובלי אלוהים. אני מאשימה אותך, נתניהו, הגזענות תמיד שירתה אותך. קראת אותנו מבפנים, הפכת חצי עם לאויב. אז נתניהו, אני המרוקאית, המסורתית ממגדל העמק אומרת לך, אנחנו נשבור את החומות שבנית, אנחנו ננקה את הרעל ששפכת פה 30 שנה, אנחנו נחזור להיות חברה מאוחדת. אני מאשימה אותך, נתניהו, רוצחים פה אזרחים כאילו הם אבק אדם, משילות עלק. כשהליכוד מתנהל כמו ארגון פשע, ארגוני הפשיעה מרימים ראש. אני מאשימה אותך, נתניהו, כן, בהקרבת החיים עצמם. אנשים גמורים תחת המציאות הכלכלית. לא יודעים איך להיכנס לסופר ולשלם חשבונות. הכל פה הפך יקר. רק החיים תחתיך הפכו לזולים עד כאב.
All right, so this is the post I really wanted to get into. So, insurmountable obstacle. U.S. outrage over Russian warship present off Venezuela. Maybe 2 videos back, I was telling you that the Russian Navy was heading to Venezuela, or they were already there. Well, we'll just read to you what the situation is. This is kind of an older post, but it's still, but the thing I liked about it is it's going to get into the weapons that Venezuela has when we go to war with them. So Trump's latest war. So based on the latest reports from November 7th and 8th, 2025, the situation around Venezuela is escalating to the point where American dominance in the backyard is being questioned. The Russian Navy has arrived there not only as a symbolic support, but as a real strategic response to the American military presence. Let's break it down step by step. What's happening on the ground? The Russian Steel Squadron has arrived. Russian warships, including frigates and support vessels, have anchored off of the Venezuelan coast, according to Professor Jeffrey Sachs of Columbia University. This is no coincidence. It is Moscow responding to NATO's pressures, just as the U.S. is responding to Russian actions in Europe, or Trump's war on Russia. Sachs stressed on his YouTube channel that the U.S. is ignoring its own provocative architecture around Venezuela, which includes sanctions, blockades, and now military exercises against what they call narco-terrorism. And I told you that that's just a pretense to go to war and steal the oil. The U.S. response, outrage and mourning. The White House and the Pentagon are publicly outraged. The Russian Foreign Ministry, on the other hand, condemned the U.S. attacks on ships in the Caribbean waters as excessive use of force. And I totally agree with that. Killing 61 people for no damn reason. And by the way, when did Congress vote to go to war? Isn't that supposed to be a congressional responsibility? No, I guess dictator-in-chief Trump wants to go to war, and they're going to go along with it. Since I'm going to turn away from the wind here so that it doesn't get in the mic. It's kind of blowing here. Since September 2025, the U.S. has carried out more than a dozen strikes on vessels suspected of smuggling drugs from Venezuelan waters, killing at least 61 people. But no public evidence, this is my point, has been presented, which Maduro calls a politically motivated campaign. The Trump administration defends this as fighting the opioid crisis, but critics say it's preparation for an invasion. Why is this an insurmountable obstacle? Venezuela is becoming a mirror of the Ukrainian crisis, only this time in reverse. Russia is supplying not only ships, but also weapons that are changing the balance of power. And this is what I wanted to get into. See, this is what Trump has been doing with his war on Russia with Ukraine. So what's good for the goose, baby, is good for the gander. And by the way, I don't know if I mentioned it. The reason I had that flag up front, that's the flag that the Russians developed to fly over Pokrovsk. And it's there now, flying over the city. I guess it'll be the new flag of Pokrovsk. So anti-aircraft defense, this is what I wanted to get into because I was very interested in this. Anti-aircraft defense. Venezuela has a layered system of Russian origin S-300 mobile Buck and thousands of portable missiles. Older Soviet systems have shot down American aircraft in the past, e.g. F-117 in Yugoslavia in 1999. Modern versions could complicate any air attack. They got the KH-31 anti-ship missiles. Venezuelan Su-30 Mk-2 fighters are armed with Russian missiles with speeds over Mach 3 and ranges up to 160 kilometers. Sorry, I got to stand sideways so that the wind doesn't get in the mic here. My hands don't work, and I try to put the little wind guard on the mic, and I can't get it on there, man. I could fight it for about 20 minutes and get it on there. Most of the time, the wind's not blowing like this. All right, imagine the scenario. American Airlie Burke destroyers would have to face a salvo of these let's finish up. I'm sorry. Russian missiles with speeds over Mach 3 and ranges up to 160 kilometers. The U.S. does not have much experience with defeating them in a real conflict. Imagine the scenario. American Airlie Burke destroyers would have to face a salvo of these invisible missiles while Russian ships would cover the Venezuelan coast. Other support. Russia has promised air defense and ballistic missiles like the Kilobar or the Oreshnik with a range of 5,500 kilometers, which also threatens the U.S. mainland. In addition, transport planes with the Wagner Group fighters, experienced from Ukraine, could lead the guerrilla war landed in Caracas. Now, I haven't verified that, but he's saying that they have. What will happen next, time will tell. In any case, heads will cool down for a while in the White House. How do you see it? And I don't believe that. I think Trump's too stupid. We'll see. So we went through that one. We got the flag. Oh, this was an interesting post, and I'm going to wrap up the video right here because I got to get back. Did you know that Israel is literally not America's ally? And I've told you this many times in previous videos. Israel is not an ally of the United States, and I get tired of these stupid ass politicians getting up on these Fox News Network and going, Israel is our greatest ally. Israel is our great. Israel doesn't give a shit about the United States except for the money and the weapons that we send them. Okay? And if we get attacked here in the United States, I guarantee you Israel's not going to be riding in on ships with troops to defend the United States. I can guarantee that. But let's look at the current list of allies. All these countries are our allies. Israel is not one of them. You got Albania, Belgium, Bulgaria. I didn't realize these were all supposedly allies. Canada, Croatia, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slavic Republic, Slovenia, Spain, Turkey, United Kingdom, Pacific Asia Theaters, Australia, Japan, New Zealand, Philippines, and South Korea. Do you see Israel on that list? You see Israel on that list? Oh, hell no. Hell no. All right, let's keep going here. So this is actually a good video from Ian Carroll show. Let's watch that video now.
Israel is America's greatest ally? Well, allow us all to be enlightened.
DC says, do we agree that Israel is not our friend and never had? I think we probably answered.
Hold on. I'm still blown away, guys, and I see this all the time. I just watched Brandon Tatum talk about Israel is our greatest ally. I just keep getting confused because, like, the word ally means something. It means you have an actual formal contracted alliance with another foreign government. And what we have never had ever, the United States has never had a formal contracted alliance with the state or government of Israel.
Is that real? Is that true?
You guys don't know this?
No, dude.
They are not our ally. And when I say this all the time, Israel is not our ally not because it's my opinion, because it's objectively true.
Whoa.
Which is also
wild.
why,
look at my face.
This is also why when we went and fought the global war on terror in Iraq and Afghanistan, and Germany and Canada and Australia, and you could go down the list, Romania, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, the Kurds, everyone came and fought.
The Kurds don't even have a state.
The one country that didn't, the Czechoslovakians, right? Like everyone was there. You know, the one country that wasn't there because they weren't our ally, they weren't in NATO, they had no responsibility to come and assist the 20-year global war on terror because they're not our ally. So yes, guys, for everybody in the chat and everybody who's watching this, the United States is not allied with Israel. We are not allies.
You're talking 2001.
Right? What? So naturally, while we were streaming, after he tells me this, and I'm like, forgive my ignorance, forgive me for trying to learn some things, but what do? When you get told something that you didn't know, you look it up. Is there a formal, right there's my look up. Is there a formal alliance between Israel and the U.S.? The United States and Israel do not have a formal mutual defense treaty, which means there is no legally binding agreement that obligates either country to defend the other militarily.
All right, so that's it. Let me see if there's anything else we want to get through real quick. Oh yeah, this is an interesting post. And this is a good damn question. The Russian government shut down Soros' entire network, making it illegal. I didn't even know Soros was in Russia. I guess he was there a while back. They ruled that Soros' operations were a threat to national security, undermining their constitutional order and destabilizing society. And he asked the question, and I got the picture there, why hasn't the United States done that? Why do we allow Soros and Bill Gates and these billionaires to run these NGOs across the country when they were bringing in, millions of illegal aliens? And, of course, the federal government was paying for that. All right, so that's going to be it for the video. Hope you enjoyed it. But why are the big stories not in the news? Riddle me that, Batman. Peace out, stay free. If I get something else on the way back, we'll get it on the video with a nice scenery shot. All right, kind of a wild view as we're hiking back on the trail here. A lot of people don't understand why the health insurance is so high. And the reason, of course, the actual health insurance companies wrote the Affordable Care Act. If you don't know how Congress works, it's usually the big corporations that come in, like Big Pharma or Big Health, like United Healthcare, and they come in and they actually write the legislation, and then they bribe the politicians to vote on it, and so they can land. And it's a never-ending, circular loop, so that everybody gets rich. And what the Affordable Care Act did was it gives the money to the insurance companies or pays them so that people can get health care. Why do you think that the federal government subsidizes health care? Now, if you really wanted to say help the American people, rather than give the money to the insurance companies, okay, we should just give the money to the American people and let them pick their health insurance. You want to talk about dropping the cost of health care? That would do it. But the Democrats would never go for that, because then that would ruin their gravy train. It's kind of like the military-industrial complex. You know, you think all that money we sent to Ukraine stayed in Ukraine? No, it all came back to a lot of corporations and politicians, and they all got rich off of that war, including a lot of Ukrainians. That is one corrupt country. They got rich off of it too. You know, and then of course the big pharma. That's another rotating door. You know, if you didn't know, I mean, Trump gave them billions of dollars for Operation Warp Speed. Everybody seems to have forgotten that Trump was the one who brought the jab into existence. Trump was the one who gave the insurance companies, immunity from prosecution if there was adverse effects from the COVID jab. It was Trump that funded all of that. So the insurance company, the pharmaceutical companies, and then of course Trump was just promoting, what is it, Ozempic or something like that. So he's back in bed with the damn pharmaceutical companies. You know, I thought he was going to really beat them up and get the cost of pharmaceuticals down. Well, it looks to me like he's cozying up to them again. So I don't know, man. I tell you what, I'm really disappointed in Trump and a lot of the things that he's doing. And we'll see. Maybe he'll turn things around, or maybe somebody's got him by the doodads. Maybe this whole Epstein thing, they've got something on Trump, and he's just having to go along to get along, you know. And then somebody pointed out, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but they were saying that Trump was going bankrupt, and that it was the Zionist billionaires that bailed him out, and so that's why he's so indebted to those Israeli, the Zionist billionaires. For his presidency, and that he's going to take, you got to give him credit, don't bite the hand that feeds you, right? Don't bite off the hand that feeds you. So he's making sure he's following through on what the Zionist billionaires wanted for Israel. So anyway, and last but not least, of course, the extermination of the Palestinians. I can't imagine that there's that many of them left. The Zionists or the Israelis have bombed so many of them, killed. Last figure I heard, they were killing 100 a day. I guess it takes a long time when you're only killing 100 people a day, and there was 2 million of them to begin with. But when you've been starving them out, that's just the ones that think that the bombs are killing. The sick people and the kids and the women. Good Lord, how many of those have starved to death now? So that should be a huge number, I would think. So Trump's getting his genocide going real well in Gaza. I don't know. We'll see. I guess soon that'll be a golf course, and Trump can go in there and redevelop it, and we'll have condos right there on it's supposed to be a really nice beach, from what I understand. So that will be a good resort, beachfront property. It's going to take them a while to defuse. I don't know if you knew, after World War II, there were a lot of active bombs. I think they're still finding bombs from World War II that, they got to blow up, either blow them in place or defuse them. So there's going to be a lot of bombs in Gaza that they're going to have to defuse once all the Palestinians are dead. So I don't know. We'll see where that goes. All right. The other huge story. Oh my God, it's not even in the news. I'm telling you, this stuff just blows my mind. I don't know what the hell's going on. Silver went up. You got to think about the percentage. I haven't even calculated it. But silver was hovering down around $47, $48. It's like almost hit $51 today. That is one huge jump. My God, $3 in one day. I've seen silver kind of fluctuate between 51, 52, 40, 49, for days or weeks or months at a time. Never have I seen just a $3 bang upwards. And then gold, if you didn't know, gold was down around, it almost got down to like $3,900. And so I thought, wow, maybe gold's going to come back to, where people might be able to buy some of it. Boom. $4,128 was the price last I checked. I mean, that's a huge jump. A huge jump. So gold went up over $100 in one day. I mean, I don't know. Something may be broken. Who knows? You know, I'm not a chartist. All these people on the X, you know, they go, well, it's a head and shoulders, or this is a double bounce. You know, all these technical charts. You know, I don't know. I don't just play that game. I know Johnny Bravo, if you ever watch him. I'm a buy and hold. You know, I just don't have time to sit there and trade stocks every damn day. I'll put a limit buy here and a limit buy there and a limit sell here and a limit sell there. And yeah, I don't make much money doing it. But, you know, I don't lose money. But let's put it that way. All right, so there's the sun setting off in the distance there. All right, if I get something else, but I did want to talk about the health insurance for 1 second. You wonder why your health insurance is so damn high. It's because the Democrats arranged for all the money to go to the health insurance companies, okay? And that obviously, you know, they're going to inflate the price, and that's why it's so expensive. If they just gave the money to you and me, we could go out and shop for our health care, and that would bring down the price, I guarantee you, of health care. And I would be all for that. It's kind of like Social Security. I wish I could have managed my own Social Security rather than let the government manage it, because I guarantee you I would have invested it a lot better than, well, they wouldn't have been able to rate it. You know, if we all had private Social Security accounts. Anyway, they'll never do that. They've already stolen all that money. Alrighty. All right, well, we add to the video. I wanted to get this on the video. And Tucker Carlson is firing on all thrusters. I don't know if you can see it in the sky right here, but Tucker Carlson just did an episode saying that chemtrails are real. Now, if you didn't know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and you see that chemtrail? It's moving across the sky. I've talked about this in previous videos. That's Bill Gates seeding the atmosphere, trying to control the weather, probably along with the CIA and the federal government. Let's get up here where we can get past the tree. Boy, isn't that a pretty sky? So, yeah, you definitely want to check out this latest episode from Tucker Carlson on chemtrails. If you don't believe it, it's real. You know, everybody says, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. Amazing how many conspiracy theories come out to be the real thing, huh? I told everybody way back in 2020, that the January 6th was a setup. I knew it right off the bat. Put it on Parler before they nuked Parler right out of the universe. And that was one of my last posts on Parler. This is a setup. So I had 56,000 followers at that time, and I wonder how many of them read my last post. Anyway, that was a depressing day when Amazon and Google and who was the third? I can't remember. That just nuked Parler right out of existence. The other thing was Trump. Another bad thing. I don't know what the hell he's thinking about, man. I heard he's proposing a 50-year mortgage. Anybody that's stupid enough to get maybe our kids are not being taught how finances work. You know, the interest on a mortgage is paid up front. So with a 50-year mortgage for about the first 10 years, you're not going to even pay down the price of the mortgage. You're just going to be paying interest on the mortgage with the 50-year mortgage, unless they change the amortization schedule, which I bet the banks aren't going to do. They want that money. Hell, I've always thought a 30-year mortgage was stupid. Anybody getting now? The only thing good about a 30-year mortgage is, you know, paying it down. I mean, you could get the 50-year, just you got to pay, in addition to the payment, you got, you know, dump $1,000 into the principal. And that would be a good way, you know, but the thing about it is it's going to jack up the cost of housing. Because now people that can't afford a house with a 50-year mortgage, they can get that payment down to where they think they can jump into a $500,000 house, and you know, and then of course what happens most of the time is, you know, budget gets tight, and so you're just making that payment. You're not paying down the principal. You know, same with a 30-year mortgage. I've always gone with a 15-year mortgage because you always get a better interest rate on a 15-year mortgage. I don't even have a mortgage anymore. I don't think I ever will again. Now, what I would tell our youth that they need to do while we're getting that sky is go get a tiny home. Buy you a little piece of land somewhere, you know, bring the utilities in. Okay, you can do that over time. Probably cost you about, you know, I'm going to guess $100,000 to bring in all the utilities and everything else, you know, to get the land ready, you know, put a well in, try to make it as independent as possible, and then go out and there's up in North Carolina, in Asheville, North Carolina, they make prefab homes. You could pick up one of those homes, have it shipped to your little piece of property. And then, of course, you know, if you wanted a mortgage, you could easily afford it. I bet you could get into a damn nice setup for especially a young couple, you know, that's just starting out in life and have decent jobs, hopefully. You could probably get in there for $200,000 or less, you know, depending on, you know, the size of the tiny home. And the good thing about, you know, the tiny homes is they're expandable. So if later on in life you're doing better, you can expand that home, you know, whatever. I don't get it. And plus the construction on those is fantastic. The insulation on them is fantastic. The other thing is Trump's proposing giving a $2,000 dividend off of the tariff money. Trump, I mean, that's just crazy. If we're making money off of tariffs, well, number one, put it towards the debt, but that's not the point of tariffs. Tariff is to bring back manufacturing to the United States on critical infrastructure. Like if all of our pharmaceuticals are made in China and India, in order to bring that back home, you tariff the pharmaceuticals coming in from China and India so that it'd be cheaper to manufacture it here in the United States. That's the main point of a tariff. Or if you've got an unfair trade practice, like what Canada was doing to the United States. You know, Canada was tariffing our milk and our cattle and our beef and everything else. And we were, you know, we didn't have any tariffs. So what you want is reciprocal tariffs to say, look, you tax me, I'm going to tax you. That's the only two reasons I can think of for tariffs. I mean, not to give the American people $2,000 just to make them feel good. All right, well, I got to get going because it's going to get dark, man. But I wanted to get that sunset. Wasn't that beautiful? I'm glad I just put the video right there. Boy, it's really dark on me. Another piece of story that I thought was very interesting. I want to hit you up. How many times do you think the auto pen was used in the last 6 months of the Biden administration? How many times? Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. 6,000 times. The auto pen was used in the last 6 months of the Biden administration. Don't tell me that Biden wasn't snoozing at home in a coffin. You know, maybe one leg in the coffin and one leg hanging out. Oh my God, I didn't know it was 6,000 because I was listening to Comey. So here's another thing that his committee has sent the legislation or the evidence to null and void all those pardons that the auto pen did when the Biden administration was coming out. So the Fauci pardon and the Biden criminal family pardons and the Comey pardon, and I mean, who knows? Everybody got pardons, you know. So they're telling the Justice Department that those are null and void, and it's sitting on Pam Bondi's desk, or Pam Blondi, I like to call her, Deep State Pam Blondi. And so I don't think Pam Blondi, Deep State Pam Blondi, is going to do anything with it. Just like, you know, have you seen one single person arrested? One single person indicted? One single person that the Justice Department has charged with anything? No. Deep State Pam Bondi ain't going to do anything, and I doubt she's going to do anything with those pardons. But the point is, if she would do something with them, then that would go up before the Supreme Court. And it would be up to the Supreme Court to say, yes, these pardons are null and void because they were done with an auto pen and not signed by the president, which is that's the way it should be. But unfortunately, Deep State Pam Bondi is probably not going to do anything. But we can dream, right? We can dream for justice. We can dream that maybe Deep State Pam Bondi will do the right thing one time in the entire office. And then once again, where the hell is the audit of Fort Knox? Not a peep about that. Where's the gold? Where's the gold? Does the United States have any gold?